It's a whole new world in China. Cal-OSHA has a discussion with Tesla, and Reveal News wasn't too pleased with Tesla's response to its reporting. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 394 for April 20th, 2018. It was a dead heat for today's lead story, but ultimately I decided to lead with Electrek's story that China has changed its foreign ownership policy in a big way. As we've previously discussed, China had formerly imposed a policy that required any foreign company that wished to manufacture within China to be partnered with or owned at least 50% by a domestic company in order to avoid a major tariff. This week, that all changed. Over a 5-year transition period, the National Development and Reform Commission will remove all ownership restrictions. This is news that will send a shockwave throughout all of the auto industry, not affecting just Tesla. Although Tesla and other EV manufacturers stand to be the first to benefit, as the restriction on EV manufacturers will be lifted as soon as this year. On a related note, Medium reports that, perhaps not coincidentally, new Chinese regulations will also permit self-driving cars to be tested on public roads beginning on May 1st. The rules require the presence of a safety driver with at least 3 years driving experience and a clean record over the past 12 months in the car, and places the liability for all actions of the vehicle on the company operating the vehicle. The other interesting bit of the regulation is the part that requires the company to submit a fairly detailed test plan and then strictly adhere to it in order to obtain and keep the testing license plate the government issues. I think it's safe to say that China will be experiencing some major growth in both EV production and self-driving very soon. On the heels of the article from Reveal News on worker safety, Teslarati reports that the California Division of Occupational Safety and Health has opened an investigation at Tesla. Erica Monterosa, a spokesperson for the state's industrial relations, said, quote, "The state agency takes seriously reports of workplace hazards and allegations of employers underreporting recordable work-related injuries and illnesses and currently has an open inspection at Tesla," end quote. In response, Tesla said, quote, "Cal-OSHA is required to investigate any claims that are made, regardless of whether they have any merit or are baseless, as we believe these are, and we always provide our full cooperation. We have never in the entire history of our company received a violation for inaccurate or incomplete injury record keeping," end quote. Tesla also brought up that Cal-OSHA had already investigated the company last year, finding no wrongdoing. On a related note, Reveal News didn't take too kindly to Tesla's rebuttal. Teslarati reports that in a series of tweets, they relied on their first-hand reporting to do the talking. In the case of one of the specific individuals they reported on, they cited the fairly ironclad work they did, saying, quote, "How do we know this? We got his medical records and the text messages he sent his mom," end quote. They further drove home this point, saying that the reporting was based on information that came from Tesla's own internal documents and emails, as well as the medical records, OSHA records, and Tesla's own injury logs on the reported parties. On the subject of Tesla's claims that Reveal was essentially a union shill, they reminded everyone that the folks they reported on were a mix of both union supporters and non-supporters. This is exactly what I was afraid of when I saw the Tesla blog post. While I enjoy Tesla's passionate responses when they're totally in the right, this wasn't the time to bring it with one of these. The reporting was good, from direct and diverse sources, and that's tough to attack. Really, the only thing that Tesla could legitimately attack is the freshness of the claims. To Tesla's point, most of the reported incidents were a year old or more, and were I their PR, I'd probably have led with this and pointed out the previous Cal-OSHA investigation. There's a time for that Tesla fire, and I think it was a misstep in this particular instance. One last little tidbit, our favorite 4-time-per-year event is coming up on May 2nd. Tesla will have a lot to talk about in this earnings call, and as I said on Twitter, this may be the most interesting earnings call I've covered in my time doing this. You can check out the links to the full stories in the show description. While you're doing that, please consider supporting the show financially through Patreon at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. Thanks very much to our super patrons out there supporting the show at the $10 plus level. They are John Waltauer, Drew Schuyler, John Waller, Mark and Sarah Thomas, Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dorian Steve Guberman, Bruno Kundici, Joey Boots, Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse, Adam Raymer Brown, Megawatt Photovoltaic Development, Todd Sullivan, Robert Healy, Mitch Long, and Zortec LED Canada. If you can't support with dollars, be sure to show your love with positive reviews and subscriptions on YouTube, iTunes, and other services across the internet. That's it for today's episode and this week. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits and use the hashtag AskTeslaTidbits if you'd like your question to be considered for the show. I'll see everyone back here next week. Until then, keep it charged and hit the road.